News Nation's Alex Capriello joins us live. Alex, you visited one of these training sites. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I did, Elizabeth, and I had a chance to listen to the teachings from these gun instructors, which weren't exactly political in nature, although they did express a general sense of uneasiness about the world around us. It's part of the reason why we're seeing Americans take matters into their own hands, preparing both guns and their bodies for battle, just in case they find themselves in a dogfight.
They're not enlisted, though they dress ready for war. They don't have military training, though they can reliably hit targets 3 football fields away. What they do have is fear of violent crime, civil unrest, even foreign invasion. And here, deep in the sticks of Central Florida, these everyday Americans gather with guns in hand, training for the day they will need to keep themselves safe by any means necessary.
In your opinion, the world is more safe when we know how to use guns?
Oh, 100%.
Air Force veteran Eric Rocher leads the shooters in these military-style combat trainings. When Russia invaded Ukraine and civilians were forced to take up arms, Rocher decided he didn't want to see Americans succumb to the same fate.
They were trying to learn how to shoot literally days before the Russians invaded. And so they were almost like helpless. And I was like, in America, we shouldn't have that problem.
As an Air Force tactical specialist, he knows techniques, disciplines, and standards that most civilians don't.
This should be information that every citizen should know about because it creates a better shooter, a safer shooter, a more defendable country.
More than 90% of men and women who come to the Barrel and Hatchet open gyms aren't currently serving in the military, veterans, or members of law enforcement. They're actually everyday citizens, just like you and I.
Take Dan Pham, for example. He's a civil engineer that builds robots. Brandon Jordan, he's a YouTube content creator. And Angela Clow is an exercise physiologist.
I'm this very loving, caring girl, but I can be fierce.
When I spoke to them, every single one said they want to be prepared for any threat, and they expressed deep concern about our country and our world.
Riots, elections, foreign wars, people realizing that their safety is their own personal responsibility. No one's coming to save them, so they're going to have to be able to defend themselves and take matters into their own hands if they need to.
From the outside looking in, it looks like they're building a militia, but they insist they're not. Instead, they're among a growing cohort of prepared citizens, everyday folks worried about a near future where gun smoke fills the air. They just want to make sure it's coming from their guns.
I think that a lot more people are kind of feeling like something is coming globally. And so because of that, there is a sense of urgency to be able to train, to get their family equipped with training.
For the first time in more than...
And something is coming globally, which is prophecy, the words of the Most High God, Yahweh, and his son whose name is Yahweh Shai. Something globally is coming, and it's the time of Jacob's trouble. And these people that you saw in the video are actually in the spirit of Jacob's trouble, because those are the times that we are entering into. I want to give all praises, infinite honor, and glory to the God of heaven and earth, Yahweh, and his only begotten son whose name is Yahweh Shai. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel, Barakim La Habayath Madabada, blessings to the house of David, which are your brothers laboring in truth and in sincerity, and to the Akim and Akwath, brothers and sisters that also listen and believe on the glorious gospel being preached throughout the four corners of the earth. And to you I say Shalom. So Shalom and Barakatham Thamyat to the Bakarim or the elect. So what's coming is the time of Jacob's trouble, which is prophesied throughout the scriptures. And it's coming fast, and it's coming furiously, and there's nothing that can be done to actually offset what the Most High said was going to happen. So let me start here in the book of Daniel 12, as I typically do, going into the fact of the times of the end. Daniel 12 and verse 1, as you see the title here, it says the time of the end. It says, and at that time shall Michael, Mayaka'Allah in the Hebrew, which is the archangel Michael, stand up the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered. And who are the people being mentioned of here? The elect of the nation of Israel, known as the 1/3. Every one that shall be found written in the book. So the prerequisite for the believers to be delivered is that their names will be found written in the book of life. So when you read throughout the Bible, various places throughout the scriptures, it speaks about those whose names are written in the book of life, those that were preordained before the foundation of the world to receive salvation here in these last days, in the time of Jacob's trouble. Jeremiah 30:7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And that he, once again, in context, is speaking about the elect. Speaking about the elect, that's the he, the men, women, and children who have been chosen to receive salvation. That's who the he is. And this comes to mind going into the times we're in now. This is the book of Revelation 18 and verse 21. It says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone. And this is speaking about the destruction, but it's a word in here that's very important. This is going to be the end game of Jacob's trouble. Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. Now the missiles is that violence is spoken of, but also this violence can be attributed to Jacob's trouble, which is going to actually, be the beginnings of the violence that's coming to the earth here in the last days that our Lord Yahawashi, let's go there, spoke about. Our Lord Yahawashi spoke about this time of great violence, great tribulation. This is Matthew 24 and verse 21, and it reads, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So the time that we're coming into, there has not been a time like this ever in the history of the world. Now let me read that in the NLT, Matthew 24 and 21, and the NLT, for there shall be great anguish then at any time since the world began, and it shall never be so great again. So this is the time of Jacob's trouble. When you look up that word tribulation here, that tribulation goes into what it said in the NLT, or anguish, a pressing together, pressure. So it's going to be great pressure on the inhabitants of the earth. It says a metaphor for oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, and straits. So these are all, what it means, or the definitions of what it means to be in a time of great tribulation. Now down here, it goes on to give us some more. It says affliction, trouble, anguish, persecution, to be burdened. So the trouble, the anguish, the pressure, the oppression, all of that is the time of Jacob's trouble that Yahawashi told us about here in Matthew 24 and verse 21. So what's coming and what's being put in the minds and the spirit of the people here in Babylon and in the earth is that there's a time of great tribulation. What happened in Ukraine, what's going on in Iran today, what's been going on in the land of Israel, in Gaza, and various other places is what's coming to the entire earth, which is great tribulation, hell, so to speak, hardship. Now, let's go here to 2 Ezra 15 and touch on that some more. This is 2 Ezra 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. And what is that woe? Destruction. And what is that destruction that's coming? The time of great tribulation, the time of Jacob's trouble. For the sword, which the modern day sword is the gun, and their destruction draweth nigh. That's why you saw the prepared citizens in the spirit of Jacob's trouble. And this is going on all around the country and the world for that matter, but headed by Babylon, because this is a land where there's more weapons the citizens have than more than anywhere else in the world, in any other nation by far. For the sword or the gun and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another and swords in their hands. That's the gun today, right? Those are the modern day swords, which swords are just killing instruments. It could be a literal sword, but this is speaking about the gun for the time we are in now. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. That's people taking these matters into their own hands, saying, hey, we got to defend ourselves. Now, the believers are going to be defended by the Elohim, the angels, and Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. That's how the believers, the elect, whose names are going to be written in the book of life we read about, that's how they're going to be defended and protected. But these everyday people, the 2/3, the heathen and the wicked, the non-elect, well, they're going to take matters into their own hand. Their sedition is the overthrow of the government. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, meaning they're going to block the cities off. People are not going to be able to just, willy-nilly get on the highway, on the interstate, and drive from one place to another. That's about the end. Verse 18, here's a major point. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. That's why men are afraid right now, because of great pride. There's a lot of pride within this land, within America. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. People ain't going to care about their neighbors, as it says in Matthew 24 as well, that the love of many will wax cold. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, that's the modern day gun, and killing instruments of war, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. They're going to do this for a lack of food and for great tribulation. Once again, we read about that pressure, that oppression, affliction, distress, straits, meaning positions of difficulty, persecution, trouble, and being burdened. So that's what Jacob's trouble is all about. That's what it's all about. And wickedness is only going to grow, and evils are only going to grow and multiply more and more. So let's go and show that. So that's what's coming is, once again, great tribulation. Now, when it said here, for the lack of bread and for great tribulation, now let's get part of that tribulation before we close it out. So a portion of that is going to be the literal inhabitants, the people, the citizens as they're known. They're going to come up and fight against each other for lack of food and because of, the distress, Jacob's trouble, lawlessness, sedition. But another part of that is going to be the man of sin coming down on you Israelites and coming down on all you people who are deemed non-essential. Revelation 12:12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So the elites and and those that are in power know that their time is short. So the things you see going on globally, the war, the bombings, so on and so forth, well, that's intensifying because that is the gift that's been given to the wicked, to the devil, to the deceiver of the earth, which is Esau, Edom, right? The so-called man of sin. He's the devil here in context. He's going to come down with great wrath. Now, let me get this and close it out. It's the book of Revelation 3 and verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, the believers have believed and remain believing. I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, the time of great trouble, tribulation, Jacob's trouble. It's all the same thing, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this is coming to try all the inhabitants of the earth. The only ones that's going to pass the test are the elect. Verse 13, behold, I come quickly, the words of Yahweh Shai. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. So a crown is prepared for the believers of the Most High God, Yahweh, and his son Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praises, infinite honor, and glory to the God of heaven and earth, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel, Barakim La, Habayath, Madamadah, blessings to the house of David, and to you, Akim and Akwath, who listened and believe on the glorious gospel being preached. Unto you, I say Shalom, Shalom, and Barakatham, Damyah, Wa Lakwatazah. Shalom.